Okay, so in Python, this is what we call a function, and this is an inbuilt function. Okay, we have two types of functions. We have the function that the programmer writes, and we have some functions inside the programming language itself. Okay, so this function, for instance, is inside the programming language. Okay, so this one, I didn't write it. So let's see how this one functions. So, in PyCharm, we call something IntelliSense. And with the IntelliSense, anything that you type, it tries to get you the meaning of it, or it tries to tell you whether you are wrong or you are right. Okay. When you take, you see, this PyCharm is a code editor for Python. You can use Notepad. Okay, the normal Notepad that we know. You can use it to write Python codes, but it doesn't have IntelliSense. So when you are wrong, it wouldn't tell you that you are wrong. Okay. That's why most programmers, they don't use Notepad to write their code. They either have to use Visual Code or other IDEs. Okay. Yes. So let's see how this print works. So with the print, let's say print 4. Okay. The print outputs anything that you write inside the bracket to the user. All right, so let's try to run this code. So if you want to run the code, you go to the top there, you click on run, then you select the second one. Okay, you see the first one will run the main.py, the virtual environment Python file. Okay, but when you select the second one, it will ask you to run.
Yeah, Richard, please, can you repeat it, because I think there were some network hitches.
Okay, so I said, so the print 5, did you get that place well?
The print 5. You just mentioned print 5 and the thing went off.
Yes, okay. So I said with the print 5, what it means is it will output 5 to the user. Okay. So when you are in your browser, so when you go on someone's website, anything that you see there is an output. Okay. So that's what the user wants you to see. So in this case, we want the person to see print 5. Okay. So we want the person to see 5. So if you want to run this code, you click on run at the top there, then you select the second one. I said with the first one, it runs the main Python file inside the virtual environment. That one I said we will talk about it later on. So just click on run. Then they will ask you to select the Python file that you should run. We named it homepage. Okay, so select the homepage. All right, so as you can see here, we see 5 here. Okay, so let's try to print something else. So let's print, let's see, welcome to my homepage. Okay, and let's click on run. Okay, so here we see welcome to my homepage. So it means if the user goes onto the website, this is what you will see. All right. So someone would ask, but the website that I see is more colorful, is beautiful than this one. Okay. All right. So that one comes to front end. So with what you see in browsers, we use a different programming language to write it. Okay. All right. So with Python, for instance, it's a backend language. So if you want to write something beautiful as the one that you've been seeing, you need to write the front-end language. And that one, we have HTML and CSS. But you can link these two, okay? You can link both of them and we'll get there. But for the meantime, let's talk about this print. Let's use this terminal. Even though it's not nice, let's use it like that. Okay. One thing we can also do is, you see, it's not always important or security based. It's not always advisable to print whatever the user is giving you outside. What you need to do is you need to store in a variable, then you can do your checks for the variable before you output to the browser or to the user. So One advisable thing we can do is we can copy this one, then we put inside the variable, and the variable name, let's say show it, then is equal to, then we said this is a string, okay? So in that case, when we say print, what we need to write is the variable name, okay? Then we run. So when we run, we still have welcome to the home page because variable name has stored the value from the user, okay? And also one thing we can also do is with the print, because something concatenation. All right, so with the concatenation, what it means is you can combine two strings, okay, to form one string. So we call it string concatenation. And with the string concatenation, you can use plus sign, okay. So we use plus sign to do concatenations. All right, so let me see whether I have concatenation here. Let me have plus, 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 plus. Okay, let's do it here. All right, so what I can do is I can just write plus double quotes. Welcome to my home page. Is you are welcome or something. Okay. So because of the plus sign, we've been able to add multiple strings, okay, or combine two strings. So if you welcome to my home page, you are welcome. So this is very important when it comes to strings. So you combine two strings using plus addition, and the plus is called concatenation. In other programming languages, they have an inbuilt function that they call concat. So what they have to do is just concat, then they will do something like, let's say, welcome to my home page. Okay. Then they will add another one. Okay, so we are dealing with Python, so let's forget this one. But in Python, we use plus to concatenate. It's a minute. Okay. And also, with the variables, we have a variable called Boolean. So in the variables, we talked about int, talked about float, talked about string. We didn't talk about Boolean. Okay. All right. So with the Boolean can either be true or false. True or false. For instance, you see, sometimes when you go on WhatsApp, you call WhatsApp, I know when we say will be online. Like you can see that someone is online. This is how they do it. They store, once you open, you see it's a component. This one is not gotten there. But so will be a WhatsApp pay. Or mama will be a variable. So when you be a WhatsApp, they will assign a variable to you. So let's say the variable that they call it is online. Okay. This is the name of the variable. Okay. Then they will set it to false because when you're online until it will be WhatsApp. This is the name of the variable. My friend is online. It when you call online, then they will change the variable name to what? True. Okay. Please, let's look at we said Python is case sensitive. Let's look at how I wrote the true and false very well. So which small false are wrong? Python in the call. So the Boolean for what's the name? The false is capital F and the true is capital T. So please let's take note of it well. Okay. So once I go online or I open WhatsApp, then me be WhatsApp prepare. Now I must set it is online to true. Then they will broadcast it to all my WhatsApp contacts. Okay. So Miss Million be WhatsApp, I say, and we say, okay, Richard online because they stored a variable or the variable be a friend ABI is online and I'm setting to true for Richard. Okay. So that's why they're able to know. You would notice that Richard is online, they don't need to store it in the database. Okay. So these are some of the things of the advantages of variables. So we have bool or boolean. All right, so let's look at one last thing. Also in Python, you call something input. So it's a function. I said functions, we always bring bracket open, then bracket close after the name of the function. And when we get to functions, you understand why we do that. Right. So with the input,
Reggie,
yes, Collins. Collins.
Rich,
Yeah, Collins.
yeah, sorry. Remember that my trying input now, my caps lock is so. Then I only started with capital on.
Mm,
Would it still be a function or it will be a
no,
different thing?
no, it will be a different thing. So as I said, what's the name? In Python is case sensitive. So this input is what it knows. This always start with small letters, small I. Sorry, you start with small I. If you write something like capital A, it doesn't know what it is. So that's why it has underlined it with red color. So it's small I. And this is the use of the input. It's used to receive values from the terminal, okay? So if I want to write something here, you see, in any machine, it deals with input and output, okay? Now we've been able to output something to the user with this one, with print, okay? Okay, we've been able to output something to the user. Now we want to receive something from the user. So if we want to receive something from the user, we use what we call input, okay? In the browsers that we know, for instance, let's go to facebook.com. Facebook. Okay. All right. So with Facebook, for instance, it's taking an input, right? But this one has been designed with what is the name? With different programming language. Okay. So let's try to see whether we will see. Okay. So can you see input here? Can you see the tag name? Anamu. Please, can you see this one?
Yeah, we can see it.
Can you see?
Yeah.
So you see, so you can see, okay. So Facebook, so in web browsers, you accept data through with name or tags input. Okay, so that's why we have input here. So we have two input. We have input. This one is for the email. The second one is for the password. So that's why we have two of them here. Okay. And also, if you want to output something to the user with the front end, you will get there. Okay. But with Python or with the terminal, we use print. So let's say Facebook is asking for the email and password. Okay, so what you can do is, okay, what is your email? So what is your email address? It's asking of what's the name? Things. And what is your password? Okay. So let's try to run this code and see what will happen. All right, so what is your email? So it's asking me. So now I can type inside the terminal because of the input function I used at gmail.com. We can see that, you see, in Python language, it runs from the top to the down. The code running through so now buffer. Okay. So that's why it asks of the email before it's getting to the password. Then it's asking me for the password. Then the password is, let's say, Ghana. If I press enter, it's done because I don't have anything again. Okay. So you see here, the password is a password, my boy, about plane, Ghana, right? But Facebook, for instance, when you enter the password, you see it to be a different type. Okay. So when we get to the front end, you understand why it comes as this. They specify what you call the type. Okay, so we have types of input. We have password, we have string, we have numbers. As in the type that we talked about, we have float, we have date. Okay. So it's the same thing, but with the input here, it doesn't ask us to do that. All right, so let's combine input. Today we talked about, let's combine input with print, with variables. Okay, so let's combine these three and do something important. All right. So let's say, let's ask Kwame these questions. Okay, these questions. Kwame, what is his mother's name? Okay. All right. So when we are done, then two. What is his father's age? Mother's age. Mother's age. Okay. Okay. Then when we are done, what you have to do is let's output something to Kwame that your mother is 2 years old. We are doing this one. This is the basis. We are doing this because you see when you go on Facebook, so when you be a young, which school did you complete? No abo, no abo, no abo. At the end of the day, then they will show you your classmates. You say, hey, my friend, with them who not your. Then you add that friend. Okay. So that's what they try to do. They collect data. So we are just trying to collect data. Then we output something meaningful to our user. Okay. But for now, this is the basis. Okay. So first thing, what is your mother's name? Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Please, what you said, is it not a kind of relational database?
Yeah, so the database, you've not gotten there yet.
So it's a kind of relational database, right?
No, we have types of the database. So you can use non-relational one, you can use the relational one. That one.
Like based on the example you said, like when you type, maybe when you enter your name, then you may see they will show you some old friend's name, then you may know that, oh, this one is also here.
That one depends on how you save the data. So that's why I said it depends. Okay. So how you save the data? Okay. So we are not there yet. So let's not go there. Okay. Thank you. All right. So what is your mother's name? So if you want to ask someone question, what do you use? Yes, can someone answer? Today we talked about
Place is input.
talked about input, talked about print, talked about variables. He said input, okay. So input bracket, then write what is your mother's name bracket. Then the second one, he said you should ask the person is age. Okay. Then you just run the code. So he's asking what's your mother's name? Okay. What is your mom's age? So 45. That's all. But what we want to do is we want to write something meaningful to the user. So we have to bring what we call print. Okay. So let's output something meaningful. So you can write your or you can write so you see you can write you see the name that the person entered. We want to reference it here, okay, but we didn't save it. So one thing we could have done was let me just one thing we could have done was, you see, when you enter the age, for instance, mother's name, if you enter Akosia, one thing we can do is to save it in a database, okay? So once you enter Akosia, you just push the Akosia to a database somewhere. When you enter the age, you push it to a database somewhere, okay? But we've not talked about databases. So what we need to do is we talked about saving it temporarily inside a variable. So we can save it inside a variable, okay? So we can save it inside a variable name, mom name, okay? Then the age too, we can save it inside a variable called mom age, okay? So we've saved whatever the user input inside a variable, okay? And also we said we want to print, okay? So we can print. So now we have the variables. We've saved it. We saved the user's input inside. We saved it inside a variable, so we can reference it. So we can say mom name. Then do you remember concatenation?
Yes.
Mom age is mom age. Okay. So what you are trying to do is, if you enter Akosia, so Akosia age is then the age that you entered. Okay. You can see that, you see, we didn't put this one inside quote or inside what's the name? A string or inside a double quote because it's a variable that we know or it's a string that we know of. You see, if you want to enter something like, you say, let's say,
Hello.
yes, let's say if you want to enter Akosia, if I enter Akosia like this, it's wrong because my program doesn't know Akosia. But if I want it to be correct, I can put it inside a bracket. In that case, it will be correct because you see, you said the code executes from top to down. Okay. So since from top, we don't know anything like Akosia, we don't know anything. So if you want to bring Akosia, what you need to do is you can just say, okay, Akosia could be a variable, then you put something inside. Okay, again. This is correct. You can declare a variable. You see, in variable declarations, you don't bring double quote or whatever. Okay, so this is correct. Or you can write Akosia like this. Okay. But if I want to reference Akosia, if I want to reference the variable, if it's a string, what I need to do is just write the Akosia. You see here, it didn't tell me, it didn't underline it with the red color because from top to down here, you got to know that Akosia was a girl, like had a value, okay? So no need of bringing double quote. So here, you can see that the mom age, I didn't bring double quote because in the first line, you got to know that we saved something inside mom name. So the code knows it. Okay, please, do you get it?
Yes.
Okay. So let's run this code and see. So it asked me of another name, so I'm gonna.
And I was saying that wouldn't it be something like or like what if you do it like mom name is, then or your mother's name is, then mom name, then you concatenate, then age is, then
Yes.
mom age.
Oh, yes, you can do that.
Okay,
So let's say 78 or 89.
thank you.
Okay, so here we can see Abner age is 89, but you can see we have Asabu boom. So what we need to do is the string, we need to bring space, okay? Okay, because in Python,
Okay.
it's sensitive. So it recognizes even spaces. Okay, so let's save and let's run it again. So age is 78. So Abner age is what? 70. Okay. So now you've been able to combine print input variables. And he said with the variables, we have types. We have int, we have float, we have string, we have boolean. Okay. He said the boolean is either true or false. The string is this one. The anything in double quote is a string. Float is numbers with decimal. And integer is number without decimal. But let's look at something here. One thing we have to take notice of is you cannot combine integer and float. It will tell you you are wrong. You cannot combine string and what? Integer. Okay, anything that you want to combine, it should be of the same type. Someone will ask, then why did you combine age here? You see age, we entered 78. It's a number. Why did you combine it with, what's the name? A string, Abna. Abna is a string. Why did you combine them? Okay. The input function that we use, anything that the user enters is a string. Okay, so we have to take notice of it. So if the user enters 2, 2 is a string. So if I enter 2, so the 78 I entered, what the program will take it as, it is this, not this. This is an integer. So this is an integer, okay? And this is a string. So the input that I entered, even though I entered 78, it added double quotes to it, okay? So you cannot combine a string and an integer. Then how do you resolve such an issue? You see, these hackers, what they try to do is, for instance, let me go on Facebook for instance. All right. What they try to do is, they said you want email or password or phone number. And let me show you something. Okay, you see, this one is SQL query, okay? And this query, it goes to the database, okay? I've written something that goes to the database. It takes something from the user, then goes to the database. But what these hackers, they will do is, because they know the database, let's say what you are trying to put there is a string, they will try to bring you a byte value or an integer. That will confuse the database, okay? So what we do is we call something cast. Cast is you take something from the user, but you have to convert it before you use it as a programmer. Okay, so in Python, we call it cast. In all programming languages, we call it cast. But in Python, if you want to convert anything from the user into integer, you do int, then you put that value inside int, inside the bracket. So if you want to convert, let's say, anything to string, just do str, then bracket. Anything to float, do this. Okay. Anything to boolean, do this. Okay. So this one will convert anything from the user to an integer or a string. Let's do as an example. So so let's say age input. Okay, so we are asking the user for the age. What is your age? the age. What you are trying to do is we want to convert it into integer. Okay. So you said the input will bring it as what? As a string. So let's print the string. So let's print age. Okay. But at this point, what we are trying to do is we want to convert the age, that's the string, into an integer. So integer age. Okay. So we converted what the user entered into an integer. Okay. Then we want to store it inside the variable. So this is age integer. Okay. Then we also want to print that one to the user. Okay. We want to output it and see how it looks like. Okay, so let's run this code. So what is your age? So 67. Okay. So the first one, this one. The first one is a string. The second one is an integer. Let's verify it. We said you cannot combine two types. So we cannot combine a string and an integer. So we cannot do something like 78. Okay, because this is coming as a string, okay, and we are trying to add it to 78. It shouldn't allow us. So let's try to verify it. So what is your age? Okay, you see it has come as error. Okay, so the first line was able to execute because there was no error. It asks us of the age, and we entered 78, 89. When you entered 89, when you go to line 2, okay, it says this file in line 2. There's a type error. So there's a type error. You can only concatenate string, not integer to string. So this is a string, this is an integer. So that's why I said anything from the user is the program takes it as integer. Okay. When we get to database, we understand.
Richard,
Hello? Yes.
let's assume you put a 78
Okay.
into inverted commas.
Okay.
What will happen?
Yes, so it will work because if you put anything inside what's the name? Bracket A in quote, it's a string. So this one will work. Okay, so 78. So but it will concatenate it. Okay. Concatenate means it will add two strings. So it will add this and what I entered. So please, is it clear?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
Alan, Maka.
Yes.
And what if you want to add the age variable to the age integer? Yes, the
Okay,
age
so
integer.
okay, so we talk about arithmetic operations before we end this class. So when we get there, we will do it.
Oh, okay, thank you.
That's fine. Okay, so let me explain this one. Let me open a database for us to see. Open this one. Yeah, see. Okay. Okay, let me open a database. So okay, so for databases, okay, any column that you do, it has a type. Okay, so this type can be an integer. So what I'm trying to say is you've asked the user to enter his age. And for age, you are expecting an integer, okay? And in your database, you've done it that the age column should take only integer. But what the user entered is a string. You cannot push that string to the database. It's going to cause problem. So that's why we talk about casting. So that's why these hackers, they've also done. So these hackers have found out that, okay, if they ask me of, even though they have entered, what's the name? They expect an integer like age. There's no age, that's a float.
Okay.
The name will be 78.1. So these hackers don't know, say, okay, this some fields they are expecting this value. But what they try to do, they say, they will give it a value when in say a code database man, it's going to confuse it. It either corrupts your database or they will find ways of getting your database password. Okay. So that's what they do. So in let's go on Facebook for okay, Facebook can be Facebook. Yeah, I'm trying to open Facebook. Okay. Okay, so that's why Facebook, sometimes when you enter, you see they're expecting email or phone number. When you enter something like this, they will tell you they expect an email address. Okay. So in that case, they know say an email address should have a characters with at, with something, with dot com. Okay. So in that case, they won't say, oh, it's correct. So this, when you get to the front end, you know that we can try to secure our database from the designer endpoint, where you have to specify the type. So in that case, when the user enters something that's even wrong, it wouldn't even allow the person to proceed. Okay. So that's also another way of adding security to application. So once you cast it, that's what you've done. And the last thing for tonight, let's talk about arithmetic operations. Okay. So with the arithmetic operations, we have plus, addition, subtraction, division, the modulus. So this will just give you the remainder. And this one will give you how many times it went into that value. So let's say if I do 10, 3, everyone say okay, ekomu 3, right? Then remainder 1, ekomu 3. So that's the use of this one. Then we have what we call multiplication. So multiplication. Okay, so we have multiplication. Then we have exponent. So this is exponent, this is multiplication. So with the exponent, so if I do 2 exponent 3, Python knows that it means 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. Okay,